everyone and welcome to my channel Needed Art History, where I'm sitting telling you some art history stories while knitting and well, today I actually have things to knit because in my previous video I was just sitting telling some things. Yeah, but today, I started to do something. I had some yarn, leftover yarn, so I needed to. I have no idea what it will be, but eventually it will be something. So today I want to talk with you about, as you can clearly see by the name of the video, about Bugatti. Not that Bugatti that you thought of, most probably, but well, still, there's F1 going on right now, and I thought that, and I know that Bugatti is not taking part there, but well, racing and racing cars, like my math is not mathing, but still I decided that why not, because clearly I just somehow remember that I was very surprised and very fascinated about the thing that I will tell you about today, and I decided let it be. Let's talk about Bugatti, but as I said, not the one that you thought about. So I'm grabbing my knitting, you're grabbing your tea, coffee, whatever you are prefer to, and let's dive in straight to today's topic. Before cementing its name in automobiles field, the Bugatti name actually appeared first in art, namely in furniture. So long before Ettore Bugatti made his first racing car, long ago before Rembrandt Bugatti, the sculptor, he is most famous for his animal sculptures in bronze. Their father, Carlo, was designing a very creative furniture and very, very unique furniture. So the period of time that we're talking is 1880s till the first decade of 20th century. So this is the period of time, when the Impressionist was going on, and then straight at the beginning of 1900s the Art Nouveau started, and a lot of things was going on. And he was creating, so Bugatti, Carlo Bugatti was creating furniture, which what is he is most known for. But apart of this, he was creating furniture, but a part of that he was creating furniture. Girl, okay, well. He was creating jewelry, he was creating silverware, he was doing the full room designs also, which is, if we would remember that, part of his art was in the period of Art Nouveau. When Art Nouveau evolved, emerged, not what I don't know what this word means, to be honest. I just have them in my head. When the Art Nouveau style started to be popular, okay, okay, never mind. I forgot completely what I wanted to say. What was the point of this? Oh, okay. Moving on. So a lot of his works are now in museums, but even more of his works are now in private collections and in auction houses, so you can actually quite literally buy yourself a Bugatti furniture now. And and also when I was doing this material, preparing this material, I was kind of surprised because I actually thought that that his works will be actually way more expensive than they actually are. I mean, they are expensive, obviously. I mean, few thousands of dollars is not, not a cheap thing, but again, compared, because art is a very expensive world, and comparably, I think that this kind of actually cheap even. I mean, if I had a few $1,000, I would really like to have a Bugatti piece at home. I would have no idea how I would style it, and I think it's actually pretty hard to style his furniture into the modern into the modern interior, but still, again, if. So yeah, so let's move on straight to his biography, straight to his art. So there is actually very few biographical details known about him. We know that he was born on February 2nd of 1856 in Milan. And he was born in an artistic family because his father, he was an architect, he was a sculptor, he was a painter. Well, overall, he was all over the place. But, well, the point is that being born and raised in this artistic family led Carlo to pursue his art degree himself. So he finished the architecture faculty in the famous Brera Academy in Milan. So he was like certified architecture, but overall was not very interested himself in architecture. So we just know there is a few surviving projects of his, but none of them were actually implemented, none of them were actually built. So, and after that he was not really into the architecture thing, and he was not, as far as I understood, projecting any type of buildings. But also what is important to mention here, that that in this academy he actually met one guy with whom he became a very close friends, and that was the painter Giovanni Sagantini. So he became very popular as a alpine landscape painter, and in 1870s they actually became like some kind of relatives, or like in-laws, how do you call it, right? So he got, this Segantini guy, he married to Carlo's sister, Luigia. And now it is believed that that was actually the first ever furniture that Carlo made, and that was the bed set for his sister and Sagantini. And also it is known that Sagantini was supporting Rembrandt with his sculpture, and well, he did not directly influence him, most definitely was not even an inspiration for him, but just overall, he was supporting Rembrandt, a part of his father and stuff, because both Rembrandt and Ettore, they had degrees in art, and because Ettore also, he was an architecture, sculptor, and all of this, but he just ended up, he was way more interested in all of this engineering stuff and all of those things, and well, we can see where it led him. Overall, that all of them had their art degrees. It is also known that Carlo Bugatti attended Academy of Fine Arts, or Academy of Beaux-Arts in Paris. And just overall, for some period of time, he was living in two countries. And so he lived in France and he lived in Italy, and it was like that. As I started the video, the end of 19th century, the start of 20th century, this Oriental style started to become popular again, because at the end of 19th century, this is the 70s, 80s, and so on. The Impressionists are starting to evolve, and one of the things with Impressionists is that they were very fond of Japanese art, and for example, it is believed that famous Monet, he took some ideas of creating series from actually Japanese art, but because in terms of stylistical things, there's not much in nothing in Monet's art, which in comparison to Van Gogh, for example, because he also was very fascinated about Japanese art, and it is known that he actually wanted to travel one day to Japan one day, but all of us know how tragic his life was, and unfortunately he didn't manage to do that. So yeah, but the point is that stylistically we can see some things similar in Van Gogh art to Japanese art. But another important thing in this period of time is that Gothic art finally started to be recognized, and it finally started to be praised. And finally, researchers and art historian and just overall everyone that was, some kind of in contact with art, they were like, oh wow, why were we bashing Gothic art all of this period of time when it's just like when it is a very very impressive pieces of art. And yeah, so finally people were, because you see the name Gothic art, it was made up to insult the style, because it was, it was considered this barbaric style. And well, the name is coming from the barbarian tribe Goths. So yeah, so it's like the same story with Impressionist, right? Which also, like, the name Impressionists were made up as, an insulting thing after this exhibition of well, if I'm not mistaken, 1874, when where Monet presented his work Impression sur les Levants, and one of the critics, he was there, and then he made an article, like, obviously, and where he wrote that, well, there's nothing there except a bunch of impressions, and an impressionist is very salty guys who were like, well, you know what, that's how we will call ourselves now, impressionists, so this is our name now. And yeah, so, but completely the same thing, completely to like similar stories. The names were made up to make fun of, to actually disrespect even the style of the schools, the people. However, in terms of Bugatti, he was, I think, like, you will see, and I think for a lot of you there will be this, like, the first association, that how Bugatti was more fascinated, not so about, like, Japanese art, but more about Islamic art, actually, and North African art. So his work is basically the combination of Gothic, Islamic, and like Islamic, or like Moorish, I think it's like that pronounced in English, art, and the North African art. Because I am personally, I don't really see any, like, very distinctive, like, Japanese features in his works. You can clearly see Gothic, you can clearly see Moorish pieces, like, if you are familiar with North African art, also you can see some, but with Japanese, I think, like, there's not, like, so much in them, but still. In 1880, so he established his first, oh my god, his first furniture workshop in Milan, and a little bit later one of the department in France, actually, and the world recognition come to Carlo Bugatti in 1888, when the Milan Universal Exhibition was held. After that, the same year, his works were selected to present like Italy in the National Pavilion, then in London Universal Exhibition, and then he was showing his off. Then he was showing his works in New York, in Antwerp, in Amsterdam, etc., and also for the third time he presented Italy on Paris International Exhibition in 1900s, and actually the same year. So one of the Ottoman noblewomen, so like Ottoman Empire was, it's like modern Turkey, like some Balkan countries, and like Greece also, and well, basically like there towards like Eastern Europe. And one of this Ottoman woman, she actually hired Carlo Bugatti to style her Istanbul residence, which, we can now maybe strongly say that his furniture was appreciated not just by Westerners. So having achieved the recognition, by 1904, he, like, the same year, he decided to sell his workshop in Milan, and he moved to Paris. And here he began to work actually with two department stores. One of them is Maison du Fayet, so the second one, Au Bon Marché. And here he was not like making the furniture, he was mostly creating silver and bronze home decor items. Especially popular was his tea sets, So in 1907, for example, he created one of the sets that was, inspired by, animal forms, and that was it was themed with this animal shapes. Like one of them is like boar's head, like an elephant trunk, dragonflies, and like etc. etc. And it is also like believed that that maybe Rembrandt somehow was participating in the process of maybe not of creating, but making up the idea of that, because as I said, Rembrandt is most known for his animal sculptures. And in one of the articles that I was using as a resource, there was actually, I think, a very good comparison that Carlo Bugatti, his work is a fantasy based on animal forms, on animal shapes, while Rembrandt's work shows an emotionally penetrating observation of real animals. So then by 1910 he moved to the village Pierrefonds, and actually in the period of First World War he became a mayor of the city, which is can you imagine like being a mayor in the period of the war? This is a disaster, and this is such a hard work. The war is obviously is affecting you in every way, when even if you are safe, even if you are in the safer parts of the country, but still emotionally you're engaging pretty much in everything that is going on, and it is it's really affects you emotionally and psychologically. And and you can imagine that you are the head of the city, you're just overall, you are a human being that is very very nervous, I don't know what, again, overwhelmed about the things going on. And by 1916, so we're like 2 years in the war, his son actually, he could not manage the situation that was going on. And now Carlo Bugatti was affected personally by the war, because Rembrandt decided to take his own life, and in 1916 basically he decided to go from this world, because as far as I remember, he was either helping or basically he was doing something in the hospitals, and the point is that he saw all of the struggles, he saw all of the disasters of the war, and he saw how these people were injured, and and how they were suffering, and all of the sadness and all of this stuff, and how they were affected by how many people are there now that will never be the same. And he was most probably so overwhelmed about this, and he decided to end everything. And this decision affected pretty much, as you can imagine, Carlo as a father. And and from now on, from this period of time, he stopped being so active as he was before. He didn't stop to work at all, but he was furniture was not his main priority now. He was doing some, again, mostly home decor, silverware, bronze jewelry, tea sets, everything like this. He was most focused on these small things rather than furniture. I mean, obviously, I'm pretty sure that he was making some kind of pieces of furniture, but not so much as he used to. But important thing that he still was considered as a very influential figure in design world. So as we can see, there only fairly general facts about his life is known, but however, even the fact that we know, it actually shows us what type of person he was. That this very this person that was more, that cared and valued more this dramatic success than just than trying to document and accurately record everything. For researchers, this type of thing is actually kind of, you know, like a headache, because now, because of this, because we don't have a particular and accurate records of his own life done by him, there is a bunch of problems. So the first one of them is dating. So it's kind of hard to date his works, because again, we don't know when particularly he was making some of his works. So some of them were dated by photos, because the museum workers or in the auction houses, you know, they found some old photos where you could clearly see the certain piece of furniture, and this photo, it was like dated exactly. This is one of the methods how you can date your work. The second thing is that we don't actually, you know, it's not very clear how much of works, how much of pieces of furniture Carlo actually made in his lifetime, which leads, you know, which can actually lead to, you know, to creating some fakes. And yeah, it's also kind of a problem. His works, his furniture is imbued with images of nature and the animal world, which is really common to the Nouveau period, right? So this is was one of the main ideas, that they were trying to get back to nature, and thus they were trying to mostly mostly flora, not fauna. And he was, you know, he was so creative, he was so interested in all of this, that actually so skillful, I think. Yeah, and he had some vision that in one picture you can see, you know, again, as I previously mentioned, you can see some Gothic features, you can see some Moorish features, you can see some African features, some of them Asian features, and all of this. And in his works, he was using a lot of different materials, also not so popular in the period of this industrial world. So one of them, it was so he was using parchment, he was using tin, he was using bone, ceramics, copper, and etc, etc. And Bugatti especially loved parchment, because he first of all, he loved it for its color, second of all, the flexibility of the material, and third of all, the ability to create new designs on it. What I mean is that he was making some drawings on the parchment, where he was putting, you know, this invented fonts that looks pretty similar to Japanese writing, to Arabic writing. At the turn of the centuries, Bugatti's style changed somewhat, and he started to use even more parchment than before. So now he was just, you know, quite literally wrapping entire piece of furniture with parchment, to smooth out all of the hard corners. Ornament now was a bit reduced, and just overall the forms of the furniture started, you know, the forms became a little bit lighter, simpler, and etc. And especially often he started to use this round ornaments. And I want, you know, to get us back to 1902 in Turin, where he presented his famous snail room. So this is, you know, this is the thing that got into the annals of history of design. So basically that was the room made in this spiral shape and decorated with the heads of the snails. Surprise! And he did not just, you know, create just the room itself. He created obviously the furniture for the room. So the most attention was paid to the chair Cobra. And and at the center of the room there was a semicircular banquette with a drinks cabinet that was made to look like a snail's shell, and the walls also were completely covered with larger version of the wooden circles that we like saw in previous works and previous pieces of furniture. Each of them were covered in vellum and with a hammered brass plaque in the middle. Well, a little side note for you. So vellum is basically, now it is completely the same as parchment, but back in the time, in the early Middle Ages, there were difference between vellum and there were difference between parchment. So vellum was basically, again, it's a parchment that was made particularly from the calf skin. So that was, kind of a most expensive type of parchment. There was even this information that sometimes this vellum could be made from the unborn, actually, skin of unborn like calves, but a lot of researchers from medieval ages, a lot of like art historians who are studying the materials and all that stuff, restorers, they're actually really doting, how do you say that right, this fact, because well, to create one folio, you needed to have like a lot of skins. So there was not even dozen of animals. There was hundreds of animals, and well, can you imagine how much of them needed to be pregnant? And like this is just enormous numbers. So that's why it's believed that well, maybe there was really indeed some of the works made from really skin of unborn calves, but overall, well, it was, well, again, very, very like doubtful fact. But with time, the difference between vellum and parchment disappeared. So by now, vellum and parchment is completely the same things. A little fun fact for you. Getting back to our snail room, the cobra chair, I also want to mention why attention was paid to that, because cobra chairs were particularly radical in their design. So the legs had disappeared and the seats and backs all were again sealed with vellum. They formed this continuous sinuous curve. After the as I said, after the First World War, Bugatti gradually withdrew from creativity, and he actually became more interested to public activities. But I mean, as I said, he definitely was working on some other things, maybe not on furniture, but he was making other decorative things. But then in 1935, he decided to move in with his son, Ettore, and his son already he had his own son, Jean. So he moved in with his son Ettore and grandson Jean. And well, at this period of time, Ettore already was working on the Bugatti car, and basically Carlo Bugatti, he watched how his son and grandson were basically paving their ways in history, and and leaving their marks in history. Another fun fact, that all of them actually, the Bugatti family, was making their own clothes. But you see, in terms of Carlo, it's not so surprising, because again, half of his art was like basically in the period of Art Nouveau, and this is like, well, a very well-known fact that architecture, just overall artists in this period of time were everyone. There were architecture designers, designer of clothes, and they were just doing basically everything. There's like a lot of well-known, like for example, Belgium architectures. The architectures that were making, like, they were doing like houses. They were doing everything inside of the house, the interior. They were doing everything to the slightest details, like doorknobs and everything like that. And they were also creating the the clothes. They were doing these clothes for themselves. They were creating even the clothes for their customers, so so they could wear them when they would have some kind of very important meetings in their houses, or there would be some parties in their houses, and they would be one piece with their houses. So so this is nothing surprising for Carlo, but Ettore and Jean, maybe they might have, I think, just took this thing like a tradition, like family tradition, or basically I think that they were also kind of like eccentric, just overall eccentric family, and that's why, you know, they were doing what they were doing. Unfortunately, like in 5 years, Carlo Bugatti died in a hospital in the city Malheim. I'm sorry, I don't know how to. I mean, in Ukrainian variant will be Malheim, but I believe in English will be the same. And you know, although he was very respected till the end of his life, at the time of his death, his works actually, you know, that they was no longer in fashion, and the recognition of his sons, both Rembrandt and Ettore, exceeded the fame of their father. However, fortunately, in the recent years, Carlo Bugatti is beginning to return. You know, it's like his former glory, and his works are glooming with a new vigor. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, are being sold on the auctions pretty successfully. So again, you can buy yourself a piece of Bugatti furniture now. He is strangely never mentioned. He's well, not never, but just, you know, the thing that when we were studying the decorative arts, we had a very, very good actually course in university about decorative arts, especially the West, like West European art, decorative art. And I remember, you know, when we were studying it, so he was not mentioned in our course. I remember just someone, like one of my classmates, how do you call your... well, my former student, another girl from my group, like, well, whatever, you understood what I mean. She prepared herself the material about him, and she showed us on the seminar about him, and I was very blown away by him. But because I myself remember that then I was preparing about also the furniture, but I was preparing about Belgium furniture, about like French furniture back then, and Austrian, I believe it's Secession I was preparing, but I was not taking Italian, and Spanish also, Spanish furniture, but I was not taking Italian because, well, this girl was already, she said to me that I will be preparing Bugatti, so like I was like, oh, well, okay, I will not take a Liberty style. But when I was preparing myself this thing, the resources, the book that I was using actually, they were not mentioning Bugatti at all as an example for Liberty style in Italy, and which is like very strange, surprising. I don't know how, you know, how in like Western and English like literature, maybe most likely he's mentioned way more, but again, you see, there was not much of information about him. And I want to finish this video with with quoting his well, great granddaughter Lebe or Libby. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, but well, basically she said that, you know, he should have lived a century earlier for his powers to have been appreciated to the full, for he was a painter, sculptor, woodcarver, and architect, and also made strange instruments of his own invention and developed a new style of furniture. Everyone called him the young Leonardo because of his energy and new ideas. And, well, I'm not his great granddaughter, but I do really agree on that with her, that he is really, well, I think unique even in the group of Art Nouveau masters. And well, you see, the Spanish furniture also is a little bit different from like others from other countries, but still, you see, I think that the first place rightfully here belongs to Carlo Bugatti. And well, this is actually everything that I have for today. This is everything that I wanted to tell you. There's like very, very brief facts about his life, about, well, some of his pieces, and just overall, just to show you some of them. And well, The most important thing for me is that I hope you found out something new for yourself. I hope that was interesting. Wish you all the best. Wish you to have a good day, like good evening. If you have stumbled upon this video in the middle of the night, this is the sign that you need to go to sleep. And well, yeah, wish you all the best. Hope to see you in the next videos, and well, bye bye.